welcome to ScreenHour with me, Kieran,
And me, Mikey.
where we will discuss the latest releases of films, series and games regarding our own impressions and experiences. We will also warn you before we deep dive into any spoilers. In this episode, we're going to be looking at what I believe is the perfect scene from Creed. Now, Creed 3 is currently out at the cinemas, so I felt like this would be a perfect time to pull this film out because Creed number 1, the first Creed, for me is in my top 10. It might even be in my top 5 films of all time. I think it's a brilliant film, and yeah, I've been wanting to sort of do maybe an episode or something on it in some capacity, but wasn't sure how until right now. We're going to be missing Mikey for another week. He's just too damn busy, or he just doesn't love you guys enough. But he should be back next week. The whole idea with these perfect scenes, they were going to be, few and far between. But here we are 2 weeks in a row. So Mikey, best be back next week. Otherwise, he's ruining the format. Quickly recap then. What do I believe makes the perfect scene? Do I feel like the perfect scene must consider these attributes? Character building, so it builds a layer to the characters. Tension, am I on the edge of my seat? Emotion, do I feel emotional? Theme, does it convey the theme of the film? And then subtlety, is it delicate and precious in its presentation? Let's get straight into it then. This is full-on spoilers for Creed 1. So if you haven't seen it, please go and see it, especially since Creed 3 is now out at the cinemas. Do yourself right by go and see Creed 1 and Creed 2, and then go see Creed 3 in the cinemas. Me and Mikey will do an episode on Creed 3 soon. I think it's a great film. So yeah, I won't say too much on Creed 3, but I do think it's a brilliant film. Go and see it. So, perfect scene. Almost 6 minutes into the film, we have a long shot. Now, I love a long shot in a film where we perceive the scene to be taken in one continuous take. So sometimes there will be hidden cuts, usually in black frames, or as the camera passes behind a person. It's a great place to hide a cut. The idea is to give us the illusion of a long shot. And I love the dedication and the scene on a whole. It's engaging, but it doesn't quite hit the sweet spot of the perfect scene. But I thought it'd be worth mentioning because I do like that long shot at the beginning. 15 minutes, 20 seconds in, we have the introduction to Philadelphia. Now, I love this scene for an odd reason. It's nothing special in particular. However, there is something exceptional about that. So we get to experience Philly as Donnie does, meaning we also get to see where the Italian stallion made his home and made his name. So the statue at the bottom of the steps is such an iconic piece of cinema to us, where Rocky's running up the steps and he's jumping for joy at the top. And for Donnie, it's history. It's a legacy of one of the greatest boxers in his universe. Now, Rocky isn't just a film franchise. He's real. And the film has this tone throughout, to the point it feels like a documentary of the real life of Adonis Creed, seeking help from his father's nemesis turned friend in order to become the champ. Now, I love this introduction between Donnie and Rock. So, who won the fight? He did. The question we all wanted to know since Rocky 3. That the maturity in Rocky is incredible. Time beat him. Time takes everybody out. It's undefeated. So this scene bounces around a lot before we settle at Adrian's, and then we meet Rocky, but it doesn't quite hit all the perfect scene criteria. Again, I had to mention this scene because just the introduction to Philadelphia, I think, is really well done. And then the introduction between Rocky and Donnie, again, is done really well. 35 minutes, 22 seconds in, Rocky goes to see Adrian and Paulie. Now, this is a scene we've seen before in 2006's Rocky Balboa. But just as before, it hits the moment perfectly. A day in the life of Rocky. It's gone from the heights and publicity of boxing to making pizza and visiting his wife and best friend, even though he wasn't very friendly. We really see the inner workings of Rocky's mind, and this is a theme that runs throughout the film. We always seem to see things from Rocky's point of view, even though it's Donnie's film. But Rocky doesn't seem to distract us from the main plot. He is literally the perfect supporting role. It gives us enough of Rocky without making it a Rocky film, if that makes sense, because that's going to be a big draw for a lot of people to see Creed, is if they love Rocky, they're going to want to see Rocky in Creed, aren't they? So, you know, he's there as a perfect supporting role, as I say, but he doesn't distract from the main plot. He sat down with his folding chair he's kept in the tree, and he reads his paper, and then you start to see the cogs turning in his head. Maybe there is something more for me to do. Maybe I could help that kid out. So then we start to see him walking up towards Mighty Mix, which is just pure nostalgia, and it's empathetic. The musical score is sublime, and it has, I can't quite describe it, but it has like a coziness about it. It feels like home. 57 minutes in, we have the Leo Sparino fight, which again is another long shot, and it's actually a longer scene as well. So it's a one-take scene. And as mentioned, I love these types of scenes because I can understand and appreciate how much hard work and planning goes into them. But the fight itself is a great watch. You're on the edge of your seat, but I feel like it doesn't have the heart or emotion or even theme. Here it's another fight. There's some character building for Donnie at least, and even Rock. It's a decent fight, but it's not what I'm looking for. 1 hour 41 mark. We have the Conlon fight. Now, this is a big moment in the film, as we're all aware. The fight, the cinematography, music when Donnie rises to the occasion, and his theme hits that epic chorus is brilliant. You know, you got that whole da-da-da, da-da-da, but that's Rocky's theme. But you've got Creed's theme, which is da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da. I don't sound as good as the actual music, okay? All right, I'm aware of that, but I just wanted to make my point clear. The fight definitely feels more emotional in this scene than the other fight scenes because there's more at stake. But there's another moment for me that really hits that perfect. The fight scenes themselves are incredible cinematography and choreography, and they could be good contenders for perfect scenes, but I think the more raw, emotional, as I say, subtle scenes feel more of a perfect scene to me. Just before the end of the film, 2 hours, 4 minutes, we've got Rocky and Donnie walking up the steps. Now, this is a subtle moment that doesn't really add or take away from the film, but to me, if it weren't for another scene, this would come close to being perfect. So the juxtaposition between Rocky running up those steps 30 years prior to now is mesmerizing. There is so much history and nostalgia there, and you can't help but think of all that he has struggled, and you can't help but think of all of that as he struggles up the steps. And the new up-and-coming Creed helps him on his way. The back and forth with the camaraderie is brilliant, and you can't help but smile or laugh along. Rocky says, I think they added a few extra steps. I think it must also be weird for Sylvester Stallone to be doing this scene where he did it in such a different circumstances before. You know, like his life circumstances, he was broke, but he was trying his best to make this film work. And then you got this juxtaposition to who Sly is now and where Rocky is now, and to the point that there is now a statue of him there as his role as Rocky. So there's a lot of history in that scene, I feel. And that line at the end, if you look hard enough, you can see your whole life from up here. And I truly believe Sly can, because, 30 years have gone by since he first ran up those stairs. But onto the perfect scene. So I'm going to call this scene the news scene, where Rocky finds out some news. So we're 1 hour 16 minutes in. So Rocky's in the gym with Donnie, running through some exercises, and the phone rings. The hospital has called him in for a consultation. Now the scene really makes its statement within the film, to the point I can't not choose it as the perfect scene. The acting done from Sly is incredible, and it's the best acting of his career. It's so incredibly subtle, and oh boy do you feel the emotion and the tension as the doctor wills him to take the treatment. My wife tried that. I mean, I just want to give Rock such a big hug, because I am fucking distraught, and then he says, it's okay. I'm okay with it. Like, he's accepting his outcome. It feels like a knife in the chest. I mean, the more the scene continues, with him arriving back at the gym, taking off his coat, and the camera just holding on him and following him to see the subtle nuances of his character, to then say, I already had my career. I did okay. What's your excuse? Time for you to rise to the occasion. I want you to always pay attention to yourself first. I'm not here to just start moving around. Then he forgets to give Donnie the mouth guard, and Donnie is just oblivious to the news. So it seems so passive of a thing for him. But to Rock, he's got so much going through his mind right now. And as I say, the subtlety in his acting is incredible. Then we extend the scene with Donnie finding the pamphlets or flyers for non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and the character building here is brilliant. The performances from both Donnie and Rock are brilliant, especially Rocky's lines. The analogy of the bowl, it's not an analogy I've heard before, but given Rocky's character, it fit perfectly. So that's a hand to the writers there, because it feels like Rocky talking, not Sly reading Rock's lines. But it's a great scene. It's a great scene to me, and I'd have to put it as Creed's perfect scene. It has character progression, emotion, tension, subtlety, and the theme of fight or flight is so prevalent here, to the point it's not even beaten around the bush. As Rocky says in Balboa, it's not about how hard you hit, about how hard you can get hit, keep moving forward. How much you can take, keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. That scene has got so much heart and emotion in it. I can't not choose that as the perfect scene for Creed. There we are. I'd love to know what your thoughts and opinions are. If I've chosen the right scene, you might choose differently, or even what your thoughts and opinions are of Creed, the film itself. I look forward to hearing whatever you have to say. Hopefully next week, Mikey will join. Anyway, take care, and I'll see you later. Bye.